Fear comes with a very dangerous trap. The more we obey it, the more it seems to prove itself right. If we avoid something that scares us, whether because of a recent trauma or not, and nothing bad happens, fear convinces us that we were saved precisely because we stepped back. Gradually, it stops being information. It becomes a compass, almost a moral compass. And when that happens, this defense mechanism starts creating new risks that didn't exist before. At first glance, Finding Nemo seems like a simple story about an overprotective father trying to find his lost son. But beneath the surface, there was a story about the paradox of protection. When people talk about Finding Nemo, they usually focus on two things. The first is the characters. The film is full of memorable personalities and wonderfully strange ideas. Recovering sharks, fish with an understanding of dentistry, schools of fish that perform visual charades, and countless others. The second is its message about a father learning to trust his son, and all of that is absolutely part of the film. But there is another layer beneath that story, a question that goes far beyond the relationship between Marlin and Nemo. What happens when a traumatic experience stops being a painful memory and starts shaping the way we see the world? Or, to put it in another way, what happens when we turn a wound from the past into a permanent rule for the future? For some reason, many people forget how the film begins. Marlin doesn't start the story as a fearful character. In fact, he begins at almost the opposite extreme. When the barracuda appears, Marlin does something that defies every instinct of self-preservation. He fights. His chances of winning are somewhere between non-existence and impossible. And yet, that reckless act of courage is the only honorable choice available to him. Until the tragedy, Marlin is courageous, perhaps even too much. Faced with an enemy he cannot possibly defeat, he chooses to confront it anyway. And that's relevant because it fundamentally changes how we should view the character. Marlin wasn't born fearful, he became fearful. The trauma didn't create Marlin's fear, it simply gave fear a place of authority that it had never held before. And honestly, it's hard to blame him. He lost his mate, he lost almost all of his children, and now only Nemo remains, with his bad fin, making Marlin's perception of danger even worse. Fear, after all, is a defensive response. It's a survival mechanism. The problem begins when fear stops being information and becomes the primary guide for every decision. Marlin starts seeing the entire ocean through the worst experience of his life, and that changes the way he sees Nemo. Again and again, he tells his son that he can't, that he's not prepared, as if he's constantly trying to prevent the same tragedy from being written into another chapter of his life, no matter the cost. But something even more subtle is happening. Marlin doesn't see Nemo as he truly is. He sees Nemo through the lens of his own trauma. Nemo's rebellion doesn't come out of nowhere. He doesn't challenge his father because he enjoys taking risks. He challenged him because that suffocating protection has become unbearable. There is a huge difference between protecting someone and convincing them that they are fragile. And slowly, the message Nemo receives begins to change. It stops being, "My dad loves me," and becomes, "My dad doesn't believe in me." The outcome is almost inevitable. When Nemo swings toward the boat, he's not simply disobeying his father. He is trying to prove something, maybe to his friends, maybe to his father, or even to himself. And this is where one of the film's foundational ironies reveals itself. One of Marlin's worst fears comes true, partly because of the very behaviors he adopted to prevent it from happening. That's when Finding Nemo stops being just a story about fatherhood and becomes a reflection on fear, protection, and growth. Some flaws do not come from the absence of virtues. They come from virtues that grow beyond their proper limits. Marlin's love is never in doubt, neither is his care, but that care loses its balance and begins producing fragility instead of strength. Caution is fear's wiser sibling. Fear notices danger. Caution learns how to deal with it. Fear says, "Don't go." Caution asks, "Do we need to go? And if we do, how should we do it?" Fear wants to eliminate risk. Caution wants to understand it, to evaluate it fully. And this distinction appears in another well-known story. In Sleeping Beauty, after the curse is cast, the king orders every spinning wheel in the kingdom to be destroyed. His intention is simple: no spinning wheels, no danger. But there is a flaw in that logic. By destroying the physical conditions for the prophecy, he creates the psychological conditions for it to come true. Aurora grows up without knowing what a spinning wheel is, without understanding the danger, without learning how to deal with it. By chance, one spinning wheel remains hidden away in an old tower, and by another twist of fate, that is exactly where the princess ends up. Unprepared, she touches the spindle, injures herself, and fulfills the prophecy. The king tried to protect her, but he failed to prepare her. And a very similar logic appears in Finding Nemo. Marlin tries to isolate Nemo from the ocean, but the ocean is Nemo's natural environment. A father's job is not to remove the ocean, it's to teach his child how to swim in it. Later in the story, after Nemo arrives at the aquarium, we're introduced to several new characters. Among them, the most important for this discussion is Gill. Gill is the leader of the tank gang, a scarred Moorish idol with a deep voice and an unwavering determination to escape. When Nemo gets stuck in the filter intake, we see a clash between two completely different philosophies. From Gill's perspective, their response is simple: you got yourself in there, you can get yourself out. Nemo, still operating under the mindset shaped by his father, insists that he cannot, that he has a bad fin. Gill's reply leaves no room for argument. "Never stop at me." Then he turns and reveals his own damaged fin. For the first time in the film, an authority figure looks at Nemo and sees capability before seeing fragility. Gill teaches. He challenges Nemo to find his own solution. Marlin protected. He devoted himself to keeping away from his son every possible risk. There is a profound difference between those approaches, because protection only works while the protector is present. Preparation continues working long after the protector is gone. Perhaps the highest form of protection is the one that creates independence. Sometimes protecting less is what allows someone to become truly protected in a way that is autonomous, enduring, and real. Throughout the film, Marlin faces sharks, jellyfish, ocean currents, and creatures from the deepest parts of the sea. But his real challenge was never the ocean itself. His real challenge was finding the proper place for fear. He doesn't overcome his trauma by discovering that the world is safe, because it isn't. The ocean remains dangerous. Loss is still possible. Marlin overcomes his trauma when he accepts all of that and realizes that Nemo must still just keep swimming. Because courage is not the absence of risk, it's recognizing risk and knowing when it should be avoided and when it must be faced. Every time we blindly obey fear, we reinforce the illusion that fear was the thing that saved us. But when we transform protection into preparation, we stop teaching mere survival and begin teaching something far more important: how to live life to the fullest extent of its good possibilities. Have you also fallen into the trap of fear? Let me know. If you like this, please hit the like button. If you want more, check my other videos and subscribe. There's new content every Wednesday. I'm Charles, and I truly appreciate your time.